It was a beautiful morning. Gentle sunlight streamed through the window, filling the small room where little monkey Lily was lying lazily on her favorite beanbag. She hugged her beloved teddy bear tightly while watching her favorite cartoon. The house was calm and peaceful, filled only with the sound of birds chirping outside and the cheerful music from the TV. The door opened softly. Dad walked in, holding a brand new notebook with colorful flowers on the cover. He smiled warmly. It was a coloring book he had just bought for Lily. Her eyes lit up with excitement. She jumped off the beanbag, ran to her desk, and gently touched the cover as if it were a precious treasure. Dad took out a box of crayons, opened it, and carefully guided Lily's little hand. It was their first coloring session together. Lily's strokes were clumsy, and sometimes the colors went outside the lines. But every time she filled a shape, she giggled happily. Dad patiently showed her how to mix colors, green with yellow, red with orange, to make her pictures come alive. Page by page, the book became filled with bright colors. Together, they colored a funny little elephant. Though her drawings were simple, to Dad, they were the most beautiful pictures in the world. When they finished, Dad brought out a wooden puzzle with pieces shaped like fruits, apples, bananas, grapes, and watermelons, all of Lily's favorites. first, Lily looked puzzled, unsure where to place each piece. Dad smiled gently, showing her how, and soon Lily was matching them perfectly, her face glowing with pride. Their lesson ended with laughter echoing through the room. Dad patted Lily's head, then went to the kitchen. Minds were filled with love, patience, and the simple joy of a peaceful morning spent together. That afternoon, the sky was bright blue, dotted with fluffy white clouds drifting like giant cotton candies. A soft breeze carried the scent of wild grass. In the kitchen, Dad was busy preparing food for their picnic. The table was full of delicious things: grapes, apples, candies, milk, and slices of warm bread. When Lily, the little monkey girl, heard the words picnic, she jumped up in excitement. She followed Dad everywhere, tiptoeing to help by putting small snacks into the basket. Every time Dad turned away, Lily would rearrange everything. Not always in the right order, but with the sweetest concentration. Dad just smiled lovingly. When everything was ready, they set off together. The path to the meadow stretched under soft sunlight, lined with trees swaying gently in the wind. In the distance, a sparkling lake mirrored the clear blue sky. This spot is perfect, Dad said, setting the basket down. Lily clapped her hands in delight. They decided to pitch their tent near the water. While Dad worked on the tent poles, Lily played with blades of grass, occasionally tugging at his arm. When he focused on his task, she snuck into the half-built tent and giggled from inside. Once the tent was up, Dad placed two small folding chairs by the entrance. They sat together, feeling the cool breeze brushing through their fur. Dad sliced some grapes, and Lily used her tiny fork to pick each piece, eating happily with her legs swinging in the air. A little later, Dad started a small campfire. Thin smoke rose, blending with the scent of grass and wood. He took out some marshmallows and placed them on skewers. Lily eagerly helped by handing him each one. Together, they roasted the marshmallows by the fire, their faces glowing softly in the golden light. While waiting for the treats to cook, Dad lifted Lily onto his shoulders and walked toward the meadow. They looked out at the shimmering lake, the breeze carrying the scent of summer and the songs of birds. Lily stretched her arms out and laughed joyfully. When they returned, a faint burnt smell filled the air. The marshmallows had turned black. Dad chuckled and scratched his head. Lily wrinkled her nose, but still sat beside him obediently. Dad found a few pieces that weren't too burnt, and they shared them, laughing at the funny taste. The sun slowly dipped below the horizon. Warm, orange light covered the tent, the grass, and Lily's sleepy face as she leaned on Dad's shoulder. They crawled into the tent, lying close together, listening to the soft wind and gentle ripples of the lake. Lily held on to Dad tightly and soon drifted into a peaceful sleep. Outside, twilight fell. Their simple little adventure had come to an end, full of laughter, warmth, and love, a memory Lily would always keep in her heart. The next morning, the rain had just stopped. Raindrops still clung to the leaves, sparkling like tiny jewels. Inside the house, Lily was sitting on the couch watching TV. But soon she grew restless. The sound of the raindrops and the fresh smell of wet earth made her curious. She hopped off the chair and ran outside to the garden. The grass was damp, and cool water trickled between her little toes. As she admired the flowers still glistening with rain, Lily suddenly heard a faint cheep, cheep. She looked around and spotted a tiny yellow duckling trembling under a bush. Its feathers were wet, and its big round eyes looked scared and lost. Lily rushed over, gently picked it up, and held it close to her chest. Poor little thing, she whispered, hugging it to keep it warm. Meanwhile, Dad came out of his room and realized Lily was gone. He called her name, but got no answer, so he began to search the house. When he reached the garden, he saw his little girl sitting in the drizzle, cuddling a duckling. Smiling softly, he walked over and asked, Lily, where did you find your new friend? Lily proudly pointed to the corner of the garden. Dad nodded and suggested they take the duckling to the backyard pond. There they gently placed it in the water. The tiny duckling began to paddle clumsily, splashing water everywhere. Lily squealed with joy, clapping her hands. She leaned forward to play in the water beside it, laughing as the droplets splashed onto her fur. After a while, Dad said, Let's take it home before it gets cold. Lily agreed, lifting the duckling carefully into her arms. Back inside, Dad dried it with a soft towel, while Lily fetched a small bowl for food. Dad filled it with corn and rice, and the hungry duckling started pecking eagerly. Lily sat beside it, eyes wide with wonder and affection. When it finished eating, Lily carried it to her beanbag, stroking its soft feathers gently. "From now on, you'll be my friend," she whispered. Dad smiled as he watched the two, then went to make a little nest out of straw and wood for the duckling, placing it right next to Lily's chair. As evening came, Dad brought out a cup of milk for Lily and more food for the duckling. The two friends sat side by side, a little monkey with her milk and a tiny duck happily pecking at its food. Together they ate, played, and filled the cozy house with laughter and the soft cheep cheep of a brand new friendship, pure, innocent, and full of love.